Welcome to Podtendo, a Nintendo podcast, where they analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games.
The critics agree Metal Gear Solid is an absolute masterpiece. Games just don't look any better than this. The best reason yet to own a PlayStation. Metal Gear Solid by Konami.
PlayStation.
Didn't show up at all. All right, good stuff. My levels? No, that's fine. Hey guys, welcome to. We're in a new season, I think, of the Podtendo podcast, where we analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games. We'll be contacted on Twitter at Podtendo Podcast. Email us at podtendo@gmail.com. You can check us out on Twitter, Instagram, other socials. We're around. We're there. We're a review, Let's Play pop culture, something show. What's the other thing? Let's Play show. I'm your co-host, Mick, and I'm joined every episode by lovely and talented co-host
Tyson.
Cool stuff. Awesome. What season are we in?
Is this 6? I was thinking, I'm like, oh, it's 5. It's like, no, I think this is 6.
Are we done 6?
It shows how organized we are.
So we specifically changed the order because Tyson wanted this show to be the start of our new season rather than our spin-off show. And I said, okay, dokey. And we didn't take the time to actually look at what.
No. I just had the notification on my calendar saying it's coming up. So I was like, oh, no, we should reorganize the schedule. So we kick it off with a bang. And, well, we kind of already shot ourselves in the foot. But that's classic Podtendo, so.
Classic us. See all right. So all episodes. It doesn't really see a season, though. Son of a...
No, because usually we forget and we don't even label it. We're usually mention it maybe in the episode or 2 episodes afterwards. So, we did good.
I think we're finishing season 6. I think we're starting season 7. So we've been doing this for 6 years. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So, goodbye, season 6. Hello, season 7. What up?
Yeah, lucky number 7.
Yeah.
Why didn't we do a James Bond game? Because we already did one. But maybe I'll do another one this year. Just you wait. I'll squeeze it in.
All right. There we go, 7. I mean, we usually do one in, January. So January is still season 7.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, no, that works for me.
All right. Cool, yo. But, there you go. So there's our friendly banter, our friendly talk, our celebration, the big the accolades are I've been going back and listening to some of our older shows. Most of them are like that, or it's like hey, apparently 2 weeks ago was our 5th year anniversary. Good job, us.
Yeah, and it's funny because you'll be listening to the episode and you'll read the title and you're like, oh, I like this episode. And then you're like, oh yeah, we dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. That's a shame. But that's it. Like we said. Big game, Tyson specifically. I'm guessing it's probably a favorite of his. In fact, he asked for it. Wanted this game to start off season 7. We're going to start it off with a big bang, a nuclear-sized threat of a bang. We're going to play one of the greatest video games of all time, Metal Gear Solid. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, well, this game is a landmark game. It was super narrative driven, and I remember we all just was like, this is one of the games that kind of the PlayStation was a magical time where we watched Final Fantasy VII and this and Castlevania Symphony of the Night. These games are just vivid in my mind. Mm-hmm. So we've done the other 2, and this game has just been sitting there. And I actually I've recently, want to say in the last 2 years, replayed all these games. I think everyone except for Revengeance, because I was I'm skipping this.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, definitely one of my favorites, and I'm happy we get to play it today.
Nice, yeah. So, did you play the original ones, the NES ones?
No, I picked up, started with Solid. That's, I considered, this is the start of my franchise where I jumped in. We went back and we played the old Metal Gear on the SNES,
yes.
and the NES, and it's no, No, I think once was enough.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about that quickly on the development details, maybe, for the uninitiated, but this is Metal Gear Solid. If you thought this was the start of the series, it kind of is, but it's technically like the third or fourth part, depending how you look at it. It was developed by Konami Computer Entertainment Japan. It sold 7 million copies worldwide. It was released September 3rd, 1998. How Long to Beat has this game at 11.5 hours. Price at release was $49.99. If you factor in inflation, that would be $81.71 today. eBay price, you can get a copy for about $50 to anywhere to a couple $100. So that one I got sitting on the shelf there, it's worth a fine mint. And on eBay or eShop price, it's about $5 if you can still find it on the PSN. I don't know if it's available on the other networks. And then where to play is the original disc, PSN, Metal Gear Solid HD collection. There's on the PS collection of like the Solidus or something. I think there's one. Maybe the PS Mini. Oh, PS Mini. That's like the little portable one. Gotcha. Yeah.
I tried to find this on my PlayStation 4. Like I was looking on there for it, and I could not find it at all. But I also like noticed a bunch of the original PlayStation games have kind of dropped off the PlayStation 4. Cause
I think it's PlayStation Now. If you use the subscription, they might be on the PS Now, but it's like a subscription-based platform.
Yeah. Well, I thought I was even like checked everywhere, but like I could not find the original Metal Gear, so I was like. It's going to be tricky to play, but luckily I found my old place PS Mini, and I was like, perfect. I don't know if this is going to be the best way of playing it, but at least I get the controller I wanted.
Could be worse. Be playing on your PSP. That was an awful experience, so.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, not fun. But before we dive into this game specifically, we gotta set the mood, as it were. Look at the pop cultural landscape. We're gonna travel back in time in our patented Wayback Machine to September 3rd, 1998. We'll start by asking Tyson, what is his favorite show? We have to ask the age-old question. Do we want to live there? So we asked Tyson the age-old question. What is your favorite show? Could it be The Simpsons, Season 10, Episode 2, The Wizard of Evergreen Terrace? So Homer becomes an inventor because of his idol, Thomas Edison. Hilarity ensues. Or Pokemon, Season 1, Episode 23, The Tower of Terror, Part 2. Ash meets a trio of ghosts, and convinces one of them to help fight Sabrina. So, of those two shows, which would you rather watch?
Well, I love me some Simpsons. We've hit Season 10 a lot, so I feel like we've been hanging around in 98 for a bit. Which I'm totally okay with, 98, 99. And Pokemon's not a show I usually go to, but it does have like Gengar and Ghastly, or Haunter and Ghastly. I don't know. Yeah, Gengar's might be there.
I think it's all three. I think it's all three of them. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but it's like Ghastly that goes with Ash. So very, very cool. I think that this was like Ghost Pokemon are one of my favorite type. So this episode obviously resonated with me a lot. So I think I might have to go watch me some Pokemon on this one.
Cool. Good job, Pokemon.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test. To train them is my cause. I will travel.
Oh, just say Pokemon. Come on.
Yeah, it's like we don't need to go through the whole thing.
I will start in Pallet Town and make my way to Viridian. I'll catch a bug Pokemon, maybe fight Ash and go to Mount Moon. Da-na-na. Then I'll go and get to the point.
It's still going? My goodness.
Oh, come on. I understand it. I played the game. Actually, I had like the opening title song stuck in my head the other night. I got stuck with the guy I was working with. It was a good time. So good job, Pokemon. I think that was one of the games I talked about when we talked about Pokemon over 6 years ago, or like over 5 years ago. So that's fun.
Nice. Well, I'm glad we're bringing it all back around.
Oh yeah.
Because this is like Pokemon's still going strong, and they're doing probably big things at this point. Maybe there's another announcement in the future, but
okay, cool. Now, so other TV shows, and you're like, I remember Pokemon. I remember this episode of The Simpsons. You could also probably remember then Charmed, The Challenge, Dawson's Creek, Felicity, ER, Friends, and Frasier. And you're like, psh, boring. Cartoons that debuted this month. So in September of 1998, we saw Ogie and the Cockroaches, Godzilla, the series, Hysteria, Shadow Raiders, The Wild Thornberries, Dumb Bunnies, and Elliot Moose.
Interesting.
Right.
Dang. I bet you there's also probably like some Men in Black, the animated series, playing around this time.
Yeah, I didn't look at what was on, like, on the schedules, but like specifically debuting was this, right? So
Yeah. Well, Hysteria was a show I never really appreciated, but I know you liked it a lot. I think it was also maybe where you got a lot of those geographic knowledge.
yes.
Also, but I don't really remember the Elliot Moose show. Never heard of that one. So
Elliot Moose
Shadow Raiders was like
is on the loose. That's all I know.
Well, maybe that's right.
Shadow Raiders is the third iteration from Mainframe Entertainment that made Reboot and Beast Machines, or Beast Wars, whatever you want to call it. I think Shadow Raiders was their third show.
Yeah, I remember always trying to get into it, but it wasn't as good as the other two. So.
No, not at all. But you're like, psh, I don't even watch TV in 1998. I'm a cable cutter. That wasn't a thing back then, so shut up. You didn't think that. But I want to go to the Real House, watch some movies. What kind of movies debuted this week? You could watch the original Cube. I don't think any movies played that, or theaters played that, outside of like independent film theaters, but like, that's an interesting one. Simon Birch. All right. Wrestling, Ernest Hemingway, Rush Hour, and Urban Legend were all in theaters. So it sounds like a good time to spend all that money on Hollywood movies.
Yeah, well, Rush Hour was a huge movie. Not as big as Rush Hour 2, but very big. Urban Legend's not too bad. I think Kevin Bacon's in. No, maybe not Kevin Bacon. Maybe he's in it.
No, you're thinking of Bon Jovi being in Cry Wolf.
Thank you. Wow, glad you got my you knew exactly what my brain was doing.
Well, because Kevin Bacon has like that weird blonde hair that Bon Jovi kind of has, and they look kind of similar. So as soon as you said that, I was like, oh no, he's thinking of Cry Wolf. So.
Well done. This is why we do really good in those, like, I'm this character.
Yeah.
Yep.
I once had a horn stuck, remember that? And I was like, oh yeah, of course, that guy.
Oh, yeah, I got that. Nailed it.
Right.
It's like, how did you guys get Scooby-Doo out of this? And you're like, weird. And then Simon Birch is the one where, doesn't he kill a lady with hitting a baseball foul ball? Lands on her head.
I have no idea. That one, Billy Elliot. I think Billy Elliot's about the kid that like dances or something. And it might be. Is it a young Tom Holland in Billy Elliot? Billy Elliot, or like maybe Tom Holland was like in an act. It's about a boy that.
Yeah, he definitely. There's you go YouTube this. He hits a baseball, goes foul, bonks this lady on the head, and then she dies. And it's like.
Right.
It's supposed to be like this, like, up until that moment, it's like this really whimsical scene, and then it's like, well, this got dark. It's like, my goodness, this is a left turn I did not see
She
coming.
should have been paying attention. What's she doing just sitting there not catching the ball? What are you doing? Anyways, there you go. Simon Birch, about killing people with baseball.
That's the only scene I remember.
All right, and then top video games released this month were Spyro the Dragon, Pokemon Yellow, Shining Force 3, Dance Dance Revolution, Gex Enter the Gecko, and several sports games.
Nice. Now, this must be the first Gex? No, because that would have been on the Saturn or whatever.
I think so.
This
is the one we had. This is the one.
3DO or whatever the heck it was.
Yeah, this is the one that was like on the PS1 and N64. So
perfect.
Yeah.
This is the one that I remember. And Pokemon Yellow. I mean, everybody wanted to have a Pikachu follow them around and was like mind blown that it follows you around.
How did they even make this game this way? It's just the first game, but the Pikachu follows you around.
Just this is next level. Take my money.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so then top music. So we're gonna look at the final 3 Billboard songs, and we're out of here. And then we'll talk about this game, I promise. So the number 3 song is "Crush" by Jennifer Page. That sha-la-la-la before I moved on. So
Yes,
there you go.
yes.
I was like, I kind of remember that. How about the number 2 song was "The First Night" by Monica. Let's see if it pops up. Oh, look at that. There it is. Play. All right. And do anything for you?
Yeah, I don't really remember that one.
All right. And the number one song, I just have to go to my favorite songs on Spotify. Hold on one second. Most played.
Oh, wow.
There it is. Number two.
Class.
Number two. It's up there. The number one song is one of the greatest ballads of all time. Is "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing" by song play for longer than it probably needed to, but I was like, well, you can't not play, "Don't Want to Miss a Thing."
Yeah, this is. I think that every kid that went to high school during this time, like this song was like, okay, this is a slow dance song. You find that girl and you dance with them, or guy, doesn't matter.
You could
But
even
it
be
was,
two male figure skaters that dance together.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
But yeah, this song, I have vivid memories of my childhood too, and I think I like this song more than I like the movie because it's a Michael Bay movie, but it's also like Bruce Willis is in it, Ben Affleck's in it, because it's like Ben Affleck dating Liv Tyler, and Bruce Willis has to save or sacrifice himself so Ben Affleck can make it home.
Yeah.
It's like. Man, it's weird that I've seen this movie maybe once.
Yep. Oh, I've seen it definitely once, never more.
And it's like, how come I remember everything that happens?
Because it was ingrained in your head. This was back when the hit movie also had to have a hit song. So maybe in '97, you could look it up. Titanic was the big, and they had My Heart Will Go On. So you need the big, Armageddon has to have Don't Want to Miss a Thing, and it goes like that till pretty. Recently, maybe within the last 15 years, they've kind of bucked that trend, but
yeah, you don't see many ballads anymore.
No, right? It was always that song had to as part of the hype. They had the music video and the song went out with the movie. They don't really do that as much, but I think they were even doing that for Avengers, right? And when did Avengers come out? 10 years ago. So up to 10 years ago, they were still trying to pair the big song with it. So
yeah, geez, I want to say maybe even Avengers 2 because it was. Was it Back in Black that they paired with that one? It was, and then the first one was Iron Man, obviously.
No, they had it was a what's his face? A Chris Cornell song. There's something.
Yeah. Well, and I know James Bond movies do it every single time, but
it's,
bring it back, Hollywood. We love our big ballady songs that we can slow dance to.
Yeah,
so everybody loves slow dancing, so just bring it back.
I love when themes and songs stick with you, dun 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. It's because I died a lot. That was the song that was played when you die in this game. Anyways, now that we spent 25 minutes on this epic podcast talking about Metal Gear, talking about not Metal Gear.
We're talking about Don't Want to Miss a Thing, people. We got to get... This is important stuff.
That is important. Baby...
And Elliot Moose,
And Bill... And what was the other one? Simon Birch?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We learned some stuff today. All right. So there we go. So now... on to the development. Now we know the pop cultural landscape. You're hopefully alive, and you're like, I remember listening to that song. It was great summer, good times. Let's look at the development details of this fun game. So before we said, like I said, there was an original Metal Gear released on the MSX, which was a home computer system in Japan. We never got that. They redid it and altered it a little bit for the NES for, I think, Europe and North America. That's the game we played on this one. In response, because it was done well, they released Metal Gear Solid 2 Snake's Revenge, which has weird side-scrolling parts and is kind of a top-down, and it's similar, but apparently Konami didn't work on it, and he was pissed off, so then he created the real Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, which is kind of just a 2D version of this game. Takes a lot of hints from it, but because again it wasn't released in North America, they then kind of just took the ideas and put a 3D polish on it, and we got Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, and it was Kojima, not Konami.
Oh, Kojima. Sorry. Anyways,
Yes.
now we can look into the notes. Now you have that brief history of this game. So the third Metal Gear game was planned for release in 1994 for the 3DO interactive multiplayer. Kojima, if I would have just read the notes, I would have known that, was working on a game called Police Knots that would include Snake, Meryl Silverberg, and the Foxhound team. However, the 3DO was discontinued. These assets followed him, though, to Metal Gear Solid. Rather than call this entry Metal Gear 3, he opted for Solid because North America didn't receive the second game, and the first was rather unheard of. He wasn't a fan of the first-person game, so he opted to make a 2D game style while using 3D graphics for the ability to switch to first-person on the fly to make it feel like a real 3D world. Development began in mid-1995. The team aimed for accuracy and realism while making the game enjoyable and tense. If the player isn't tricked into believing the world is real, then there's no point in making the game. Snake's physique is based on Jean-Claude Van Damme, while his facial appearance was based on Christopher Walken. Everyone pause. Go and type in Christopher Walken to your search bar, and you'll be like, really, that's who they based it on?
That's so random. Why would they have... Weird. Maybe Kojima saw a movie with him in it and was like, that's the guy.
Christopher Walken in 1995. He was in Prophecy. He looks scary. I guess actually, you know what? Kind of looks like Snake. Oh, there you go.
Who would have figured?
Huh. Yeah, weird. All right. Where did I get to? I got distracted. So Kojima wanted the world to feel vibrant. He wanted you to be able to interact and hide bodies. As well, he wanted a full orchestra sound to help build the environment. These were not achievable yet, though both would appear in the sequels Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. Kojima used Lego building blocks and toy figurines to model 3D areas and see what the planned camera views would look like. The game was developed by a staff of 20 people. A small team for such a major title. Kojima preferred to have a small team so you would get to know everyone in the team, know what was going on in what they were working on, and you could know if anyone is sick or unhappy. That's nice. Seems like a nice guy. Hopefully he never gets screwed around by a company in the future.
Yeah, that'd be really tragic.
And such a visionary, too. Like, he takes such simple concepts and he can build such big worlds out of such simple concepts, you know? Like, it'd be awful if they kicked him off of a later. Anyways, a playable demo was released in Japan in 1996 and was released in E3 in 1997. There was some difference between this and the released version. The game was delayed from its 1997 release to 1998. The game was made playable for the first time at the Tokyo Game Show in 1998 and was released the same year. The promotion for this game cost $8 million. I don't know why it was so dramatic at the end.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of money back in the day. That's it's like $20 million, what the heck they're spending, but pretty I think necessary, because this is they need this game to like land, and it bloody did. It was like it was hit like spread like wildfire. I know so many people that like this is one of their favorite games, so you gotta kind of market those things, or people may not discover it till years later.
Yeah, no, and it was a very PlayStation was always kind of known as like, and maybe I've shared this before or heard this somewhere, but it was kind of like the bad kid system, right? So the PlayStation, like the bad kids would have it. It had the more mature games. It had your Resident Evils where like there were zombies and shooting, and this was kind of like a spy game. Whereas in Nintendo, all we have is a game about a spy that shoots people in multiplayer. And what other games are there? I guess I never had any like Grand Theft Autos, but like, you know what I mean? Like it just seemed like it was like more mature. So it always had kind of that little bit of a shine. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. We'll get into the first memories. Pretty sure this was one of the first games we had to purchase. I think we had a demo disc that we'd like play the heck out of. It's good times.
Yeah, well, I remember we got the greatest hits one, so it must have been out for a while.
Well, because again, I don't think we were in we didn't have a PlayStation till 2000, right? So it was almost 2 years old at that point. It had hit greatest hits status pretty early, like probably late 1990. And it was just because it was sold so many, because it was such a popular title, it sold so many, they just wanted to keep kind of getting it out there.
Right,
yeah.
Right. But you made a point about Police Knots, and it's interesting that like he kind of developed this like police, like called it Police Knots, and then like Police Knots kind of came its own game, and then there was this. But in Police Knots, like there is a character named Meryl and a character named Dave.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like very interesting. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Like there's this weird crossover universe of reusing name and assets, because like the actual like do like kind of like chant that they do at the beginning of that, that actually came from Police Knots. So if you love the music of this game, go listen to the Police Knots soundtrack, and you'll notice a lot of, hey, this sounds familiar.
Oh, Police Knots came back. Interesting. Huh. All right.
Yeah.
I thought that was a scrap game according to those notes, but apparently it came back. Okay, cool. Where are we at? And then the other...
Well, I think it was only released in like...
No.
It wasn't...
Yeah.
It was very, like, very
Might have just been a Japan game. All right. So then finally, the Twin Snakes, which is kind of a reduxed copy, because this game was edited from Kojima's original view, so he came in and he remade kind of his director's cut, which is called Twin Snakes, which was released in the GameCube in like 2004. We'll get to that at the end. But it's a remake of Metal Gear Solid. Was developed by Silicon Knights under the supervision of KCE Japan and was released for the GameCube in Japan. Although Twin Snakes was primarily developed by Silicon Knights, its cutscenes were developed in-house at Konami, reflecting his dynamic signature style, utilizing bullet time, photography, and choreographed gunplay extensively, while the storyline and settings of the game were unchanged. Though there are a few select lines of dialogues that were rewritten to more closely resemble the original Japanese version. A variety of gameplay features from Sons of Liberty were added, such as first-person aiming and hanging from bars on walls. The graphics were also updated to match those of Metal Gear Solid 2. Hooray!
Yeah. I think Twin Snakes is definitely, if you can access it, like that's a really great way of playing this game.
Yep.
I almost prefer it to the original, but the original's got a soft spot in my heart, even though the graphics kind of look...
It's a double-edged sword. So, how did you play this game? You played on your PS Mini. Yeah. Okay, cool. I started playing...
with save states.
Great. I started playing on my PSP. I had some difficulties. There are some limitations with the controls. Speaking of controls, whereas because you need the trigger buttons to scroll through your items... You ended up having to use that awkward little joypad that's on the PSP to scroll through your weapons. So it you had to take your hand over and scroll through. It was definitely a little more difficult. And I knew that I had a copy of the Twin Snakes. It's been a while since I played it. And I was like, I can't imagine us going back and playing the Twin Snakes for this podcast. So I'll do us a favor. I'll hit that one. You could hit the original. We can kind of talk about the middle and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's not dramatic changes, a few little touches here
first
and there,
person and the ability to flip makes this game way easier too. Like I played the easy mode of Metal Gear Solid by playing that, right? So yeah
all
right.
Wow, it's also just it's so much nicer to look at. So
it was kind of fun. I had a day off because I was moving to nights for a week, so I took the day off, played that on a Friday. It took me 3 hours. Good time. So the controls of this fun game. So you move around with the directional pad. You have a punch button, an interact button, and a crouch and can crouch. I have no idea what button does what. Even though while playing the game, I sometimes forget what certain actions do. It screws me up. Sometimes it gets me caught by guards. It's great. You can scroll through the items with the left trigger and weapons with the right trigger. When a weapon is equipped, you can shoot it with the punch button. At least I think. This is a stealth game, so you're encouraged to sneak past enemies and not kill anyone. You have a radar screen that shows you enemies' lines of sight, unless you are spotted, in which case it triggers an alarm status and the radar is disabled until you can hide. The game's story is told via cutscenes and codec calls, which are just kind of spoken text bubbles. There are a variety of weapons, from SOCON pistols to rifles to mines to missile launchers, and you can equip rations to restore health if you run out of health, a card key to open doors, a box to hide from guards, a gas mask to die less quickly from poison, and cigarettes if you just can't go without some sweet, sweet nicotine.
Yeah. My goodness, those codec calls and cutscenes, that's 60% of the game.
So, how long to beat?
Especially if you want to dive into it.
How long to beat has this game? At 11 and a half hours. It took me, I think it was 3:10 without listening to any of the cutscenes.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
There's a ton of but it makes sense. About 6 hours of bloody cutscenes. Especially during the codex. If you call different people, you call Natasha, Colonel, Mei Ling, Otacon, for spoilers, but and a few others. It's they'll give you little hints in the game, and if you get stuck, they'll kind of guide you in the right way. But it's also kind of like listening to, and you almost like want to hear what they have to say in each situation, because the story is really cool. And I think that's what made me fall in love with this game, was the story and the intrigue, and like there's all these like these people have like the interwoven background, and it's like I want to learn more about that. So it's I think it's a like as so far as it like starts, awesome. And the controls are a little clunky because it's old, but this is kind of like par for the course for Metal Gear games at this time.
Oh yeah, and I mean like they talk about the amount of story in the later games, like Metal Gear Solid 4, I was told was just like an interactive movie, essentially. They've had that ever since. The Metal Gear Solid series is just movies with some gameplay. Maybe 3 isn't so much. Like 3 is probably the best game, right, of all of them, and it's not as complicated. But even Metal Gear Solid 2 like goes off the deep end and stuff, right? So it's just, like Tyson said, par for the course. So let's look at our first memories of this fun title. So I feel like we had a demo disc with this game on it. I spent a good chunk of time just playing through that initial dock area, and then once you got to the elevator, that's kind of where the demo would end. So what's that, like 2 minutes of a game? And I'd spend an hour playing through that area, like screwing with the guards and hanging off the ledge and going underwater and just like having fun crawling under things. It was a very neat experience.
Yeah, and I think it's those old demo discs really got your mind going, because they gave you just enough to get you intrigued, because I don't know how many games we've discovered through those demo discs over the years, but yeah, it was this was one of those games that like I remember like bringing it home and like just poring over every little thing, the manuals, and reading all the character bios, and being like, oh, these want to learn all the villains and all the heroes, and everybody's got these cool code names.
Well, and it was one of those cool double cases. So PlayStation had these cool things where they had like bigger CD cases. There was 2, so like the front part would be like your instruction manual with a disc, and the second one would be like 1 or 2 discs or something. And they just seemed so, like Tyson said, like something you just literally want to dive into, right? Like paw through. They had these very intricate, these awesome artwork, stories, usually like a walkthrough on certain parts. And there was just so many RPGs that fell into our life at that point too, that this like double disc had this like weird allure in my mind. If I saw one of those, I was like, this is a big deal game. Like the fact that it's a double, like this is an epic experience I'm about to have, right? So even from getting it off the shelf, they made it seem bigger than it was.
Yeah, and I think it was like it just had like a really awesome style to it. CD cases were everywhere at the time, but it was also like it was one of those things where like it kind of fit in just a regular CD, like just like looked perfectly nice on the shelf, but it seemed a little bit like more oomph to it. And then because there wasn't a lot of games that did that besides RPGs. So, like, when we got this home, it's like, oh, this game's going to be huge. And we're like, you don't understand. It's all cutscenes.
So, that's a very interesting point. So, PlayStation has always kind of went with what else was on your shelf. Like, they didn't want to ever distinguish themselves from other media you'd have. So, you'd have CDs, and you'd have PlayStation discs, and in theory, they look the same. So, from a storage...
And same with, like, I remember PlayStation 2 cases...
look like DVD cases.
Yeah, exactly.
And then... PS3 cases look like Blu-ray cases.
Yeah, totally.
That's freaking cool. So PlayStation has always just integrated their case design with what was the most popular other media at the time, because they didn't want to be excluded. They wanted to be included with all the other media in your life.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't even really kind of think of it until you mentioned it.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, they, I'm looking at them on my shelf, and my PlayStation 4 games go really well with my DVD or my Blu-rays, and they're like, huh. They really just tried to like nail that whole aesthetic where like they know people who buy these things are collectors, and they want like the physical like actual.
Well, I don't think it's for the collectors. I think it's for the general public. They want to be they want to be integrated with everything else. Right? They want you to be able to put your copy of Tomb Raider on Blu-ray next to your Tomb Raider game. Right? Like they don't want to have any distinction. Whereas think about like Xbox 360 games still look like DVD cases.
No, they kind of got the Blu-ray thing going. 360's got but it's like bright green, stands out. Like I mean, the PlayStation were actually like it was a black case.
Yeah, and like
so like either they're getting a discount rate for DVDs and it's a cost-cutting measure, but like it literally looks like it just seamlessly blends.
Oh, interesting. Well, I wonder if because Sony was also producing music at the time, if they just had like we're overthinking it. They just used what they had available, right? Like they had these extra CD cases, like, I'll just put them in there. They had all these, because they make movies and produce movies and print movies. They're just like, oh, let's just put them in these DVD cases.
Yeah, well, they probably have the infrastructure to actually like, hey, people who make all the CD case molds, make this mold and then give them to us. So you're getting it coming from the same factory that you get all the other stuff, which is probably like just awesome. And I mean, I think that this game is in the case, like the cover is just like white with the lettering, like was it red lettering or whatever the heck it was. It was like just awesome. Nice. It's like this game made you just want to like play it and dive into it because it's just like so cool.
Cool. Other first memories. So look at that fun diatribe we went on, and we learned something today. So I think we finally got it as the greatest hits, like we talked about. But I don't remember playing this game that much. Like I don't think I got past the tank hangar ever on a single playthrough. I had a friend come over once for spring break, and he just kind of like lived at our house, and he sat and wrapped it. He had played this before at a friend or saw someone else beat it, and he like played it, and that's what we did. We'd wake up and like watch him play a game and like watch a movie, and we're like, what? This guy reads our memory card? That's crazy. And then like he'd do the next thing, right? We're like, okay, we'll go for lunch, we'll come back, we'll beat this game, right? I'd later complete it myself, I think a couple times. I did get a copy of the Twin Snakes for GameCube pretty early on in the cycle. Loved it, played it, thought it was great. But then like all my other GameCube games, I traded it in, only have to buy it rebuy it later in life. However, I did it before it was worth like $250, so that's pretty exciting. Yeah, it's great. I love trading games.
Yeah, it makes you always regret it. Even it seems like a short term solution for a long term, and they just create long term problems. But yeah, like and I remember like Metal Gear Solid VR missions came out because this game was so popular that people just couldn't get enough of it. And there was like the little VR sections, which are essentially just a tutorial. But I remember we were playing through that just like at nauseum because like, oh, I got to get better at my skills. Got to learn how to like crawl under these things. And you'd never use those skills in the actual game, but it was its own kind of thing where it felt like we were doing training so we could get better at Metal Gear Solid. It was cool. Like, and you don't see that anymore. Like that's for a really random spin-off of a popular game to essentially be just an extended tutorial of the game. Like that, how the heck did this ever sell? But just shows how popular this franchise was. They could literally sell tutorials.
Pretty much. I mean, think of how many copies of this game have been. Like they'll release it. The later titles will release like Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, and then there's like Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, Subsistence. They just like add extra content, like a skateboarding mini game and like VR missions to it, and they've just kind of always added and grown. And they obviously continue to work on this title behind the scenes, right? And take their assets and create other interests because there's always kind of that allure to this series, right? Like they hit it out of the park. They created something awesome, and this is kind of just a legacy it's left. So.
Yeah, definitely. Nothing but good things.
Nice. All right. So now, finally, as we get through it, we're on to the story. We're almost 40 minutes into this podcast. We're finally going to talk about this game. That's exciting. I love us. We're great podcasters.
Nailed it. We tangent too much.
So normally, and a peek behind the scenes, we like record a couple shows at once. Right, like we'll record 2 or 3 shows usually on a weekend, and I was a little behind on the other games, and I was like, maybe we should just play Metal Gear Solid because I kind of felt like this might be one of those like we go for an hour plus, like hour and a half plus, right? Yeah. Like we're just getting to the story, we're taking our time, we're enjoying it. We have all of the level notes to get through, and the ending. I have a cultural significance and another Wayback Machine. Like we might be pushing 2 hours with this guy.
Yeah, this one actually might be our longest episode, so buckle up, everybody. I guess maybe the taking those RPGs and expanding them over multiple episodes has just increased our bad habit for tangenting, and because we're again like another minute's gone by, and we're like, we still haven't talked about the story.
But like,
yet,
I mean, that was good stuff. We talked about cases. Come on, give us a break. Anyway, so let's talk about the story, dive into this nitty gritty of this game, and talk about the absolute just insanity that's about to happen from a story point of view and what happens with this gameplay. All right, so story. So a terrorist group called Foxhound takes over a nuclear facility in Alaska, and top retired spy Solid Snake is called out of retirement for one last mission and is sent in to deal with the situation on the DL. All right.
Yeah, there's a whole extended briefing, and when you play this game, you can actually like sit through it, and they'll talk about it, and that actually shows like a pictures of like Snake in like a cool anime style. It's awesome. And if you like stories, buckle up, everybody, because I mean, we got our like this is so heavily laden in stories. So
couldn't you have played this game on the Metal Gear Solid collection for the PS3?
No, because this one was a downloadable thing. That the collection came with, I want to say 2, 3, and 4, and
Like the original NES games or something?
no, yeah, and the original NES games, but like
This was only like a download from the PSN store.
yeah, exactly. And then and I used that on my PS3, and I don't have that account anymore. So I'm like, I think this is gone, which is why I was looking for
Gotcha.
it. So.
All right. Okay, cool. Nope, just talking. Because I had a similar thing where I was going to download it on my PS Vita, which at least I think would play a little bit better. It has a little bit more ability. It's a little bit bigger than the PSP, but it's no longer able to download on the PSN, so that's great.
No. Konami is I swear they're slowly trying to take these games down, which is stupid because like it's an amazing franchise. But
Darn it. No tangent. We'll just get into this. If we have time later, I'll remember this. I'll maybe make a note about what I was just going to talk about. Anyway, so on to the level notes. This is our Let's Play section. We talk about our experience. We talk about all the nitty-gritty details of this fun experience. All right, so we start off in the docks. We arrive via the waterways. We have to sneak past 2 to 3 guards, depending on your difficulty, and wait for an elevator to descend before we can use it to get up to the surface. So I kind of indicated with playing the demo for hours. This area just seemed huge as a kid, right? It was like I spent hours and hours playing through this part, and it was just, it takes 2 minutes. Maybe I wasn't the smartest kid.
yeah, well, I think it's like you takes a little bit getting used to the controls. So I like this area though because I always have to try to grab all the I think there's a ration or one other thing, and you always got to dive off that little ledge and do that dramatic dive into the water because you can.
Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we all love diving and swimming.
Yeah, and I think you can kind of mess with the guards a little bit and lay up against the wall and knock, and then draw their attention, which is always fun.
Or like leave wet footprints for them to fall around in a circle. It's a good interactive environment for sure.
Yeah, introduces you in a pretty safe space because it's like just dive in the water. It's a quick it's easy exit, and then they'll just leave you alone.
Yeah, it's a great not a sandbox, but a good little play area for you to kind of there's no risk. Like you probably aren't going to die here. In fact,
and if you do, it's the start of the game.
In fact, it's pretty hard to die during the first, because there was a couple times where I was trying to die for some reason to exit out of the game, and it was a struggle. Like all the guards coming down on you, like they don't deal that much damage early on. I don't know what they're using, but you seem to be be able to withstand a little bit of the damage, so it's actually kind of harder to kill. But anyways, we're on the surface now. We take off our masks. We reveal we're solid snakes. We get told about this mission. We see a helicopter. Oh man! So we head to the tank hangar. Here we're told about the radar, how to save. We learn about cameras. We have to sneak through an open door area, find a gun in the truck before sneaking inside via the ducts. We move through a hangar to an elevator. We might want to find some thermal goggles upstairs before we go down, but I don't know. We sneak into a prison cell, get a lot of exposition, see a guy have a heart attack, and are rescued by a guard and have to fight off some soldiers. Interesting. Okay, all right. So during this playthrough, I found these areas so small. Like you just kind of at that point, you're like, that's it, right? Like in my mind, they're so much bigger. I just remember this game being huge. I just feel super compact, kind of dull. The story is well crafted though, so if you kind of know the twist. Right, there's these subtle hints that they kind of drop throughout, and you're like, oh, that's neat. And I kind of like that the story is so complex. There's different layers, right? If you don't know what's going on, you have one experience, and when you know what's going on, there's like a different level, and you can pick up on these subtle little hints, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I like that. And then from here, we head on to President. I'll just stop there. Any thoughts on that first little part?
I like you get introduced to. Get a little glimpse of a bad guy coming in a Hind D, which is pretty cool.
A Hind D?
A Hind D. And then there's multiple levels of ways of doing things. So you can go in through the main door. There's a little entrance and you can follow the rats and all that kind of stuff. Or you can go through up the top. It's a little bit easier. But I like that they're kind of showing you multiple ways of doing things, and the vision cones and all the lighting, and they're trying to really establish like, here's how if you get caught, like just try to stay out of like people's way, and you can easily sneak past them. But if you do get caught, it's not the end of the world.
100%.
Yeah, and I think this is a good little intro section, but yeah, it's kind of monotonous after you've done it a few dozen times. But yeah, we get on to President Baker, who
we want to talk about exposition. No, DARPA chief. DARPA chief's in the cell.
That's right. That's it. Captain Exposition, and we get a quick glimpse of Meryl, which is pretty neat. She's an interesting character, and Snake immediately just starts like kind of hitting on her.
Yeah.
Which is pretty typical Snake, but they have some chemistry, so who knows? There you go.
So then from there, we search out President Baker on basement 2, blow up a wall, and fight a boss. We fight Revolver Ocelot. He can be a pain since you can't really move that quickly around the room, so you can only fire once or twice. Not super hard. If you have first-person view, he's like the easiest thing in the world. Auto-aim also makes this a little bit easier on the original. And after the fight, we see a ninja cut off Ocelot's hand. We talk to Baker, get a card key, and watch him have a heart attack. Naomi! Chief! What the hell?
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, like, very cool. This fight with Ocelot's really hard. I was kind of struggled with it, but the first person mode does make it easier. And then we get to see a ninja, and all of a sudden we're like, there's ninjas in this game. What the heck is going on? Pretty cool. And another person dies of a heart attack, so we're starting to really wonder, is something up?
Yeah, it seems kind of suspicious. They're like, no, it's fine. They obviously have lots of cholesterol. Chief, are you sure? Yeah. Yes, cholesterol. It's just because they didn't exercise. This is an exercise, though, so you'll be fine.
Yes. And they ate too many eggs. That's why we sent you with a pack of cigarettes, Snake. Or actually, you smuggled in a pack of cigarettes, but, good. It's good for your health.
Yeah, sure. All right. What do I say? One of the worst boss fights. It's tough. Twin Snake's easy. And the nuclear waste speech Baker gives you is a little bit heavy-handed, so a lot of exposition just between these first two DARPA chiefs and Baker. They talk, and they talk, and they talk, and they talk. And then you kind of realize that the game is saying it's anti-nuclear weapons.
Is nuclear weapons bad?
I guess so.
Well, it's we're going to talk to you about for the next 6 hours about how it's bad. So,
all right, good.
Enjoy.
Well, hopefully it's entertaining, and it is. All right, so now we're on to the nuclear building. So after checking the back of the CD case, like the actual box of the game, you get to find out Meryl's codex number, which is like kind of neat, and you have to kind of be a spy yourself. You can call her. She opens some doors. We can get the thermo goggles, avoid some lasers, and fight our next boss. The tank. You have to run up really close, and you throw grenades into it. I think you have to throw from the side, and then they blow up. So let's say one of the most stressful areas of the game. Like crossing those lasers is really tough because like the graphics are really terrible, and you don't know which laser is like on which grid, and it's kind of hard to follow. But if you die, and I learned this the hard way, you just continue in the exact room that you died in, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's not like you have limited continues and only you can only do this. I specifically remember like us playing through this for the first time and being like, CD case, and I remember like, because I was holding the CD case at the time, being like, CD case, and I flip it over and they're like, oh hey, there's Meryl's codec. I'm like I didn't really clue in that it's like, oh, you're supposed to look on the back of the CD case. I just thought I was like, oh hey, like they screwed up. It's on the back of the case. Like, I know you're supposed to look and find it in the game or whatever, but here it is. And you're like, I'm such a dumb kid. I didn't even realize that I figured it out. It's like,
well, it's like kind of neat immersion, right? Like Star Tropics had the same thing with like totally. The wet piece of paper or whatever, right? Like they kind of did that cute little thing. So it's that I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of breaks the fourth wall and is kind of setting up for things to come and makes you kind of feel like a more. There's a lot of like references to like, oh, let me vibrate your controller, read your memory card. And this is the first fight against Volcanic Raven, which I think he's an interesting character. He's I'm surprised he sticks around for as long as he does, because you'd feel like the big meat-headed goon would be one of the first guys to kind of bite it, but Yeah. After you do, like, throw enough grenades in, is like just bob and weave, and like I think you use some chaff grenades, and then he can't auto target you, and then you just avoid him on the minigun. Just toss some
I
grenades
kept
in there.
screwing up. I think in both versions, well, definitely in the Twin Snakes, and I'd like throw my grenades and I blow it as treads, so he ended up just kind of stuck in the one part of the area, and I was like, that's unfortunate. So
yeah. But if you kind of just do some circular motions, kind of get used to bobbing and weaving, and I think that this is kind of forgiving. Some bosses coming up are like they'll just shoot you and just wreck you, where this one you can kind of feel like you almost move faster than the bullets track you, so you can kind of like outpace them, or if like I think it's a bit more forgiving. This one's not too bad yet, but yeah, I remember struggling with it as a kid.
Will be. They will be. So now we're in an area, a nuclear storage facility, where we can't use guns. We have to sneak into an elevator, explore B1 to find an Akita missile launcher. Then we head to basement 2 and use the missiles to stop an electric floor. We can collect some items, notably the gas mask, before finding a hallway with a bunch of dead guards and a boss fight. It's the cyborg ninja. You have to fight him hand to hand, because if you just shoot him, he like deflects all the bullets with his sword. Thermal goggles can help find him when he's using his stealth suit. And afterwards, we meet a dorky Hal Emmerich, or Otacon, and he explains that he created Metal Gear.
Yeah, awesome. So I didn't realize this until I was playing it this time, but there's one guard that's still alive. He's just badly wounded. Because when you're looking on the mini map, there's one dot in that entire hallway. It doesn't have any vision or anything. It's just one glowing dot, and if you like look at it, you can see his like chest moving up and down. So he's still breathing and is alive, but like that dude's in bad shape.
Cool.
Yeah, I never noticed it until this time. During the cyborg ninja fight, he keeps making references to like he knows Snake, and it's like almost like they've been on the same battlefield at some point. So there's something interesting going on with the cyborg ninja, and who doesn't love the cyborg ninja? I'm glad that they didn't like. I always thought when like we first played this as a kid that the ninja would like be a very prominent character, would keep showing up. But essentially after this fight, he kind of disappears for a little bit, which is kind of a shame. And the other thing was, what was it? Sorry, I'm reading your notes to see if anything jogs my memory. No, I don't really remember off the top of my head. So.
Okay. I'm just looking up to see if there's like any backstory, because everything in this game... Okay. Everything in this game is like referenced in a future game. So like I was wondering if like somebody comes back and they're like, I was the lone survivor of Shadow Moses. I was attacked by a ninja or something. Like if a guard says that later on, but I couldn't see anything.
There is one person I know for sure survives other than the main characters, and that's Johnny, the guy who gets diarrhea.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the butthole guard.
Oh no, we didn't. Yeah.
So when you're in the prison cell with the DARPA chief before he has his heart attack, you hear the female soldier in the room next to you. She like takes out the guard, and when you come out, you like look over and there's just like straight up guy with his like butthole up in the air, but it's all like blurred out. She stole his suit and just left him there. Poor guy. Yeah.
I think that might also be Johnny, because
it is.
It's funny because like you're talking to the DARPA chief and you're just talking candidly, and he's like, "Hey guys, shut up in there," and you're like,
"Well."
So he knows that there's two people in here?
Well, but if you think about what's going on, at one point he comes and looks in the room and the DARPA chief like waves him off and the guy says, never mind, and like walks away. It's almost like maybe he knows something that we don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's but you figure that Snake would pick up on these things, but he's kind of like, this guy, this is a dumb guard.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, so that might be the only other one that comes back.
All right. Well, I was just thinking, I was like fascinated by this like guard that you found that's still alive. All right. So yeah, for myself, I found that I was playing through on the OG on my PSP, and I just couldn't get past this part. Like, I don't know if my setting was just too high or the controls just too awkward, but I had a heck of a time with the ninja fights. So this actually, when I dusted off my Wii, started playing the Twin Snakes instead, and I was like, this will be faster. Now that you have to find, that's kind of it. Otacon. Again, you like exposition. He talks a lot about how his father was born the day that Hiroshima was dropped or something, and his like grandpa worked on the Manhattan Project, and his family's like cursed. And I was like, no, you're cursed, and your dad just like happened to be born on the wrong day.
Right? It's like, yeah, he can't actually control when he was born. Jerk. Way to group your dad in this. And then he's like, I think he talks more about like otaku conventions and stuff like that. And it's like, we call them weebs nowadays. But yeah, essentially he's like a big nerd, pees his pants. He's and then hides when you're fighting the ninja. Yeah. I think you can use the more chaff grenades because that's like the fix all in this game.
Like takes a,
well, and it does stun him a little bit, but it kind of feels like cheap, and you do want to beat the cyborg ninja hand to hand. So
until he seems noble until you start hitting him. He's like, hurt me more, Snake. Make me feel pain, Snake. And I'm like, am I turning this guy on? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe a little.
Right.
He seems to be a bit of a masochist.
Right. So now that we have. So now we're done, and I think our next mission is to re-meet up with Meryl and to head north. So we have to find a soldier with a wiggle in their walk, meet up with Meryl in the bathroom, and proceed to the next boss fight. So here is Psycho Mantis. He controls Meryl's mind and tries to seduce us / have her kill herself. So stun grenades take her out, no problem. He also does some cool fourth wall breaking events. And if you plug the controller into another port, you can kill him, no problem. Otherwise, he reads your mind and knows exactly what you're going to do. Afterwards, he gives us a new card key and opens the way forward. Hooray. So, best moment / boss fight in the game?
Definitely up there. It's one of the most memorable, I think. Yeah, like, and if you have other Konami games on your memory card, he's like, I see you like Castlevania.
Oh, that blew my mind as a kid. I was like, you know I like Castlevania?
Yeah, it's like, how do you know I like Castlevania? Very cool. Like, and I mean, I love those fourth wall breakings, and he also does the put your controller on the ground and I will now move it. And you're like, more fourth wall breaking, but yeah, definitely one of the funnest boss fights. He turns invisible, he throws stuff at you, but it's very easy to dodge. Like, honestly, if you just crouch and stay close to him, you can just basically wreck him. Just stand up real quick, punch him a bunch, crouch. And you don't have to lay down. You can literally just like kneel and everything will go over your head. It's a very easy fight once you kind of know it. But I like that he manipulates Meryl, and he just seems like a very damaged individual. And then you kind of hear his sad story after you kill him about how he was like what was he like? He reads people's minds, and then he read his dad's mind, and his dad basically wished he never had him.
And was like planning to kill him because his mom died in childbirth, so he decided to burn down his village that night in rage, and it's just been like hurting people ever since. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and the reason why he wears the gas mask is to keep other people's thoughts out of his head, because it's not like he can't really. It's not like he really reads other people's minds. It's more like he just like other people's minds just drift into his, and he just has to listen to it. So imagine just being surrounded by people. You hear every person's thought, and you never would get your own peace of mind to yourself. It'd probably be exhausting. So you kind of get like this like. Man, a lot of these characters are kind of like sympathetic, and you kind of feel sorry for them. Except
right?
For
like they have special powers, but essentially they come from a tortured background, right? Or they grew up it's very much like growing up on the battlefield. You're a soldier, you have different values and stuff. So
yeah. And I mean, I think the one exception is kind of Revolver Ocelot, because he just kind of comes off as I'm a jerk who has a gun,
and I will never be brought up in the series ever again.
Yep. And that's the last of him.
We'll never hear of Ocelot ever, which is... I think we talked about that. Meryl now becomes like a super spy, because she's like way stronger than us. So in the next areas, we move to the caves. We have to fight through some wolves, which are a real pain in the butt. Watch Meryl get shot, backtrack all the way to basement 2 of the tank hangar at the start of the game to get a sniper rifle and our next boss fight. So we head back to the hallway where Meryl was shot, and we have to fight Sniper Wolf. We have to use diazepam to help with our shakes and kill her. After the fight, we are captured by some guards. Great.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking when we had to backtrack, we're like, oh, someone's in trouble, trying to save their life. They're in dire straits. They just got shot. You know, it reminded me of a certain moment in Final Fantasy VIII where a character was hanging off the ledge, holding on for dear life, and then we ended up just
in a mech battle, flying around for a bit, fucking around.
Right? Yeah, it didn't really seem like we were actually trying to solve the
trying
problem.
to get that rare Shiva card from that little kid in the hallway. I got like 45 minutes to fuck around. Let's go.
It's like I got priorities. Whereas in this one, it's like you specifically go run back looking because you like have access keys now, and you're like, no, this is the only chance I got like to get a sniper rifle. Go back, get it, and then as soon as you get it, it's like, go save Meryl. Yeah. It's like, okay, good. And I'm glad that they put some emphasis on that. And Campbell, it like literally calls you immediately as you get your PSG one. It's like, I don't care if you need you have enough bullets. Go there. It's like, well, I'm gonna grab some ammo first. It's like, no, go. Yeah. It's like, so it kind of shows the urgency, and I'm glad that they actually take it seriously.
There's even more urgency in the Twin Snakes because they have a sniper rifle in the nuclear building, in that room where like the office room. You just run in there, grab a sniper rifle, and go back to the fight. It's great. Less padding.
Yeah. That's a lot better. That's much more streamlined.
You can stop the wolves from peeing on you if you punch Meryl, because there's like a little wolf puppy and they put a box on you. You'll like get mad and come over and pee on you, and then the wolves kind of like have their sense. They don't attack you as much. Otherwise, they're actually very difficult. And this, at the end of this, is actually where you have to change discs on the GameCube. So that's kind of where they call the halfway point, which I thought was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that this is where the change disc happens.
No, it happens like before you go into the like Metal Gear holding, like the secret base or something. Which I guess
Yeah, I want to say that it's after the torture.
Yeah, it's like after the notes. There's not much. So we're captured, as far as we know. So torture / backtracking. So we can survive or submit to being tortured by Ocelot. Oh, he came back already. What the heck? Which gives us one of two endings. Kind of strange. I remember as a kid, like I bought a turbo controller because I like would not submit. I had to survive. And then when you beat the game, you get a bandana, which gives you infinite ammo. But you know what the best item is? Stealth camouflage. So on this one, I just submitted instantly. Like as soon as he was like hit me with one shot, I was like, I give up. I don't care. I don't care if this kills Meryl.
Well, I actually kind of think that this is the canon ending. Like Meryl doesn't come back in any which way, any form of any of the games.
What do you mean?
Doesn't really get like she doesn't come back, does she?
Yeah, she's in number 4. She's like she has like in Metal Gear Solid 4. She marries Johnny Akuba, the guy who like she stole the clothes from.
Okay. Yeah. See, what am I thinking about? I don't know. For some reason, I thought that like this was the one, and Meryl never showed up, and that was somebody else from a different game.
So.
But
yeah, no.
Apparently I'm wrong. I playing these games like every 5 years isn't enough. So
there you go. All right. So you escape. So now we've submit or survived the torture. We're in a prison cell. We have to escape after the guard goes and poops himself, which is the same guy who had his clothes stolen in the butthole, who Meryl apparently marries. Go figure. We get our gear. Apparently there's a time bomb. So if you don't take the time bomb out of your gear and throw it, it like blows up and you die, which is kind of funny. You have to find yourself you're back like in the prison cells in like B1 of the tank hangars. You have to fight all the way back to the communication tower. All right. I remember struggling to not submit as a kid and trying so hard. Oh, I already said that. All right. Any other points? No? Just more backtracking?
No. This is a lot of backtracking, and you hit on the little timer in your supplies, which is it's a neat little thing, and you're like, it's cheeky of Otacon to do that.
I found, especially these first couple areas of this game, the game is so small. Like these levels, in my mind, again, they're big, they're like diverse, they're interactive. But if you just go around and like choke out all the guards really quickly, there's nothing left. Like replaying this game, I guess spoilers, with the stealth camouflage, there's nothing to do in this game. You sneak up to the 2 guards in an area, kill them, and you just like move to the next area. Like I don't know. It's just very basic, right? You always start at the bottom of a screen. You work your way up. There's not a lot in between. There's some like missions, but it is very simple, and it's a very simple gameplay, and it definitely doesn't age well in that sense.
Yeah, and there's lots of Easter eggs, but I think minus the Easter eggs, this game's very straightforward. It's not like there's some codex like one little Easter egg I just found out of this playthrough is when you're just before the Psycho Madness fight, if you go first person, you actually are staring through Meryl's eyes at you.
Oh yeah.
And then during the Psycho Mantis fight, if you try to go into first-person mode, you go into Psycho Mantis's view, which is also kind of cool because it's kind of like you're in their heads, which is like it's like very interesting. But I've never heard of that, and I was like, I'm like, there's lots of like little things like that, but the overall story, because they hammer it over the head and they say the same thing again and again, it's pretty straightforward.
All right, cool. No, where are we at? The communication towers. We finally get there. We're like, oh man, hopefully nothing bad happens. And as soon as you run in the hallway, you trip an alarm, and you're chased by a ton of guards. You need to run up several stairs. At the top of the tower, you're attacked by our brother, Liquid Snake, in a Hind D helicopter, and must rappel down the side of the tower. So not as annoying as our people recall. Like, people are always like, oh my gosh, this communication tower, it's so terrible. If you have some stun grenades, just throw a stun grenade and run. And then throw another stun grenade and run. You knock all the guards out. No one chases you. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I remember this complaining a lot as a kid, but I also remember running around with the FAMAS trying to shoot people, and I'm like, what am I doing? Just run. Just throw stun grenades and run.
It's really not that bad. Yeah. So now we find ourselves did we get down? Wait, we repelled and ran to those. Okay, so we're on the other tower. So we're on the second one. We repelled down the big side. In the second tower, we find out that the elevator isn't working, and we have to climb up to the roof for a boss fight. We have to fight the Hind D with Stinger missiles.
Yes, but we have to. Don't we ride the elevator first?
We ride it up and then it stops working. Is that what happens?
I want to say it's stuck on. It's stuck on the bottom floor, and then Otacon goes down and gets it going for us, but it trips the weight sensor. And then when we get on it, trips the weight sensor again, and then when we're like using it, I want to say we're using it to either go up to the roof or something. Then. 4 or 5 stealth camo
no, that's definitely
enemies.
After the Hind D fight.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm getting in my head myself.
So we climb up to the roof, fight the helicopter. It's not tough, except sometimes he flies below the rooftop, so you can't see him. But the Stinger missiles are heat seekers, so you can seek them on your target and shoot them. Boss fight's pretty simple, really not that tough.
Yeah, super easy actually. It's
in the Twin Snakes. Snake does a really cool backflip. He jumps off one of the missiles and does a backflip and then fires a missile himself. And I was like, seems kind of extraordinary, but all right, we'll let that go. Because then afterwards, after the elevator works, we have to fight some stealth guards. There's 4 of them, and you shoot them and you kill them, and then we have to make our way to the ground and to the next boss fight. Oh, they're coming fast and furious on this one.
Yeah, we're definitely in the more action-packed. We gotta stop them. Time's running out. Nuclear missiles about to be launched. They keep saying that any minute, so we got to get going.
Well, even the cameras in this area change. I'm pretty sure at this point they used to be cameras that would alert guards, and now they're just little machine guns. So they don't alert guards; they just shoot you. Right? Yes,
and it's just so you got to use a lot of chaff grenades if you still have some. I started a bit running low on these things, but. And I know when you talk to Otacon, he's like, hey, if you're running low on health or ammo, just give me a call and I'll drop them off. I've never been able to get that guy to drop me off any supplies.
Yeah, I've never done that.
I think you have to be out of something.
I know that right here, you kind of get Otacon doing some math in his head on his Codex call, and there's a debate whether you can see. So are the Codec faces just for us? Or can the other players see them? Because Snake makes comments about how girls are cute on them, so I think he can see them. And Otacon starts freaking out when he realizes there's stealth guys on the elevator, and his face gets really close, and he's intense, and he's screaming that there's hidden people on the elevator. It's fine. It's 4 guards. They have guns. We've taken care of a helicopter 5 minutes ago. I'm pretty sure we can handle this.
Yeah, but Otacon's a bit of a wimp, and every time the last. Time he was kind of just gave us the cold treatment was when we were fighting Sniper Wolf, so yeah, I feel like he doesn't handle the coldness of the battlefield as well as Snake does.
Fair enough. All right, okay, so then speaking of Sniper Wolf, we're on to the next fight. Sniper Wolf Part 2. So something happens. I don't watch the cutscene. I think she's like, you have to fight me, so you can just sit in one corner of the room and shoot Nikita missiles at her. And then she dies. And afterwards, Otacon shows up, and he's like, but she was such a good person and so nice. You shouldn't have killed her, and cries. And then you go ahead to the final area. Hooray.
Yeah. It's the everybody's damage, and a lot of these characters aren't the black and white villains that you're supposed to take them as. And Otacon's being very overly dramatic about it, but he's in love with this girl. But it's very funny that like she marks Snake, and like when he's getting tortured, because essentially she knocks him over the butt of the head and kind of gets the jump on him, and that's why you get captured. So she essentially just like could have killed him there, and she's like, "Look, you're supposed to be the like when I fought like hunt somebody, this is like," she almost becomes obsessed with them. So there's almost this weird thing where like Sniper Wolf was almost like falling in love with Snake, but Otacon's like super mad crushing on her, and Snake's like, I don't like I had to shoot her, I don't care, like she's the bad guy. It's like he's super indifferent about it, and just like, so it's weird that like Otacon's the one that's like obsessed with Sniper Wolf, and she was kind of like, I don't know, kind of had a weird thing for you because you were her target or whatever. So
and yeah,
but,
I don't know why again
she helps some dogs.
They're spending so much time making this character sympathetic. I mean, she's a terrorist, and we're supposed to be sympathetic towards the terrorist. Well, I mean, in all fairness, she is a white blonde female, and she's not Middle Eastern, so we're actually allowed to like her. And okay, that makes sense. Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. No, it's like so freaking silly. But I also feel like that's every girl in the Metal Gear Solid world is really overly sexualized. Like, some of the guys could be like goofy, like Johnny, gets diarrhea or like has his butthole, but it's like the girls all have to be super sexualized. Like, I know even number 2, like the judge or what the heck her name is, she just has like cleavage hanging out the whole time and just like walking around in like a latex outfit. And then there's Quiet from Metal Gear Solid 5, where she breathes from the rain, so she does like seductive dances and rolls around in the rain because like it's like she's genetically engineered. That's why it is. And you're like, or did the animators just want to animate this, guys? Come on.
I think there was
now.
20 horny boys in a room. So
I think so.
All right, so we're on to the secret base. So this is actually where you have to switch discs on the PS1 version. Thrilling stuff. All right, there we go. So we enter into a blast furnace. And then we move down some slow elevators to our next boss fight. And here we fight Balkan Raven. So he's got a big gun on his back, big Gatling gun. It moves really slow. Yeah, have some claymores, maybe a Nikita missile. Dies, no problem. Awesome. Afterwards, he tells us that the DARPA chief was killed during an interrogation, and we actually talked to Decoy Octopus. I wrote Decoy Chameleon. That doesn't make sense. Decoy Octopus at the start of the game. Interesting. So, not a very vibrant final area. Vulcan Raven just makes for a very long boss fight, but it's not hard. Just long.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the thing with a lot of these boss battles is they're easy if you don't rush. But as soon as you rush, it's like you'll make mistakes or you'll put yourself in a compromised position, and positions everything in this where it's like it's a bunch of metal containers. So if you're just around a corner waiting with a missile, you can just blast him as soon as he walks around that corner, and then while he's going through his like a recoil animation, you just run around another corner and wait for him to follow you, then you just blast him with a missile, and you're like, it's pretty straightforward and easy, but just takes some time.
No, not super difficult, but that's it. I think that's all of Foxhound taken care of, outside of, I guess, Ocelot is still maybe kicking around, even though we don't hear from him again, and Liquid, assuming he survived the plane helicopter crash. So all right.
Yes, well, we came across his just outside of where Sniper Wolf is. There's a parachute, and that's why like Snake walks up to it, and that was like laid there as a trap for Sniper Wolf.
Interesting.
That's how she got the jump on him again. But yeah, and I like the whole like, okay, so the DARPA chief was actually decoy octopus, or like, because when you're looking through the actual like manual, there's this other character, but he's kind of like blurred out, or it's like all in shadows, and you're like, who is this character? I can't wait to meet him. But it's like you've actually already met him. That's why I like the narrative starts playing with your head and starts realizing that it's like actually like, you're carrying around like the fox die virus, and you're slowly killing us off one by one. It's not actually like you defeating us. It's this darn thing. So it's like, and then I think at this point Naomi gets arrested.
Something, yeah, maybe that's it. Because like they kind of uncover that you were injected with this, fox dye, which is what's causing all of the like the nanobites in your system interact with other nanobites and cause the heart attack. So that's why we saw the DARPA chief, we saw the President Baker had the heart attack. I think we killed everyone else. We haven't really seen other heart attacks in terms of main characters, but essentially we were kind of sent here to just eliminate everybody, and we're like a walking virus, and I think it's actually supposed to take us out as well, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's almost like they programmed a suicide mission, like unbeknownst to us, and we could never fail. We just had to get close to all of them, and we would have killed them, and it would have worked, because essentially it was like, we've already been close to Liquid. We've already been close to Ocelot. And like even during the interrogation, you overhear Liquid and Ocelot like talking about it. Actually, I think it's coming up, and they were talking about like how we are one, like everybody would have already died because we've already came in contact with him. And it's Fox Die, and then like I think that's when Snake calls Colonel, and it's like, what are you guys talking about, this Fox Die thing? Like, what did you guys inject me with? What have you guys done? You've been lying to me this whole time, and now there's more secrets.
And like at the beginning of the game, they're going through the mission briefing, and Naomi, who's playing, we don't know that just yet, but whoever she is, she goes to give us an injection, and you say, oh, what is that? And she's like, oh, it's just this thing that's supposed to slow down your digestive system so that you don't have to poop during the mission. You say, oh, okay, that's weird. I've never got this shot before. She's like, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And she injects you with this virus. So, I mean, the Chekhov's gun has been sitting there the whole time, right? Like, if you watch that interrogation, and that's one of those cool things when you go back and you're like, wait, why? Or, like, the DARPA chief waving off the guard. Like, those little nuanced things you can kind of notice. And you're like, I see. They've literally been leaving us, like, breadcrumbs this whole game. Like, that's really neat.
Oh, totally. And, like, I think it's already been unveiled that the master wasn't actually the master. It was actually Liquid lying to us this whole time and manipulating us. And it's interesting because like whenever you were in a battle with one of the Foxhound people, he would never really give you good advice. You kind of had to reach out to everybody else. But like leading up to the next like boss fight, he would always kind of give you like good hints, and everybody else was kind of giving you like just the same okay hints, but like you have to like talk to them a few times to get like direct information. So it was interesting that it's like Liquid's been kind of manipulating you from the very beginning, and you just weren't even aware of it.
Yeah, well, we're not at the big reveal just yet. I think we have to get through this next area, and then at some point it pops up. I'm not exactly sure. Story's confusing. Yeah. That's why we jumped around a little bit. So anyways, we're on to the Metal Gear holding facility, which is my last bold headline, which means we must be close. So now, with Foxhound defeated, we enter the Metal Gear holding facility, and we notice there's no guards. We overhear Liquid and Ocelot talking about launching a nuke. We drop our PAL key, we have to find it, and then we have to enter it into an override computer. We find out that there's 3 keys, but it's actually just like this one weird key that can change based on the temperature. So to enter the next 2 parts, we have to go back to freeze it. So we head back to the freezer, we fought Balkan Raven, and then we have to warm it. So we have to head all the way back to the blast furnace, because man, that's great. We then enter the 3rd hot card key, and it activates Metal Gear. What the? I thought we were stopping it.
Yeah, turns out we got lied to. One fun thing is when you legitimately like drop the PAL key and then a rat eats it. And we're like, what kind of rat just eats a giant key? Like, what the heck is going on?
Anything.
So stupid.
That's pretty dumb. And like, you have to like find out where he goes and then drop a C4 and blow him up. I actually got stuck at this part and I have to look it up, and I was like, that's silly. It's stupid.
Yeah, it's like padding. This is padding. Doesn't need to be like this. Like I like the one key that everybody's been talking about. Oh, there's 3 keys. There's 3 keys, and you're like, it's actually just the one key you've had all along. I like that like kind of twist. Like the narrative twists are very interesting, but then there's just a lot of gameplay padding, and it just kind of like sucks the wind out of the sails for a minute.
Pretty much, yeah. Like you've heard anyone talks about this game, it's the backtracking is unnecessary. This game wouldn't be very long without the backtracking. I guess that's the one thing I'll say to defend it, to like actually add gameplay. Like the game would probably be 9.5 hours with an hour and a half of gameplay, maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours of gameplay, right? Like it's 30 minutes of backtracking, so the game's just not very long. But the PAL key of turning it cold and turning it back and then turning it hot is real awful. But we get to find out that the whole event now was a setup. So they didn't get the launch codes from the DARPA chief because they accidentally killed him. So they manipulated you and allowed you to walk through the facility to get the PAL key, uncover how it works, and activate Metal Gear for the terrorists. Don't you just hate when that happens? But it's now up to you to stop it.
So now it's boss time. We got to fight Metal Gear Rex. And I have no idea how we're going to fight this, so we better call Otacon.
Does Otacon tell us how to do it?
And yeah. And he gives us the whole, like, hey, so it's covered in, like the only way you can just destroy this thing is, like, because it's, like, got anti-tank armor, and it's, like, your missiles aren't going to have any effect. It's, like, you need to destroy the navigation because it's a closed system. So you, like, once you destroy the navigation, that little, like, circular thing, then they have to like the operator will have to open up the, like, so Liquid will have to open up the actual cockpit because there's no windows. It's all closed. Like, he's just enclosed and has screens. So it'll actually have to open up so he can see you to like actually, like, attack you. So that's how he sets, like, that's how, like, it sets it up, which is kind of like a really neat way of doing a multi-phase battle. Where it's like these that, like, your main attack won't have any effect, so you need to, like, open a weakness spot and then you can kill it, which is kind of like an old school way. Like, I was trying to remember if there was, like, a boss like this on the original NES version, but it was just a computer that you just dropped a SimC4 on.
Well, even the original MSX, it's just you run back and forth and drop, like, landmines or C4 or something and run side to side and blow it up. So it was nothing that complicated. That's kind of neat, though. After you destroy his navigation, though, the cyborg ninja shows up and tries to help you fight, and he tries to, like, stop it from crushing you at some point. And then it's revealed that Gray Fox, who was, like, a renegade soldier from the second game, was captured by Foxhound, turned into this ninja, but now he's like, I know who I am, and I'm going to stop this. But also, maybe he's Naomi's brother or something, or, like, stepbrother, and she, like, he, like, killed her parents, and, like, there's something, and because Gray Fox died, that's why Naomi is out to kill you and put this virus and betrayed you. But then he's like, but it's actually not your fault or something.
Yeah, so Naomi was an orphan because essentially during one of the battles, or, like, essentially the Gray Fox's group or whatever, they were, like, killing all the people in this country as part of, like, as a bunch of mercenaries. And Gray Fox killed her parents and then discovered that she was just a little orphan, and he was, like, couldn't kill her, so he felt really bad, so then he decided to raise her. So he actually, like, is the reason why she's so angry and vengeful, but she also, like, worships him and loves him. So the reason she hates Snake and poisoned Snake is because he killed Gray Fox in the previous games.
Yes.
But she also should be, like, kind of mad at Gray Fox because he just lied to her whole life and actually was her parents' murderers. So she feels, like, super guilty about it, and, like, her and Snake have a little heart to heart when the next time they talk. But she's currently that's why she betrayed us and got herself arrested.
Gotcha.
So.
That makes sense. Yeah. No, it's.
Oh, also the guy that does the DARPA chief's voice also does the ninjas.
Cool. I feel like DARPA chief. Isn't it, like, Phil Lamar one of the voice actors?
Yeah, I want to say that's the DARPA chief and potentially the ninja.
Here. Oh, he's Vamp. Okay.
Oh, yeah, so he's in number two.
He's not in
that
this
makes
one.
sense.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, but it's interesting that they reuse the voice actors just because it's like we obviously they didn't
like Phil Lamar
have...
has this weird place in my heart from, like, watching Mad TV back in the day, and he was kind of like a bit player there, and just, like, the fact he still has, like, roles and stuff, I'm like, good for that guy, good for him.
Oh, 100%. Like, everybody from Mad TV, I'm just, like, super
anytime
happy
they pop up, you're like, hey, that guy, cool, good for you, awesome. All right.
Yeah. I looked it up. It's Greg Eagles.
I'm pretty sure Greg Eagles is his code name. What's his actual name?
No, that's.
I know. I was making like a Gray Fox, Greg Eagles. All right. All right.
Well done.
All right. So now that
over my head.
Yeah. So we're second phase of Metal Gear. Now that Liquid looks at us, we shoot him with. I think if you use shaft grenades and stinger missiles, he goes down. No problem. You destroyed it. Oh, Gray Fox also gets smushed up against the wall. That's a shame.
Yeah, and like you're standing there the whole time while like Liquid's all attention's drawn on him, and you're just standing there being like, "No, Fox," and you're like, "Missiles, shoot him, do anything to help," and you're like, "No, I'm just gonna stand there like I'm confused," and then my this is like throughout the game, someone will say something, and then Solid Snake will just repeat it and be like, and just say it with an inflection like it's a question. Like David Hayter will just be like, "Metal Gear? Indeed?" Like a question mark. It's like, yes, that's what I just said. Why do you need reassurance every time I say something? On? Fox die? Fox die? It's like, oh my goodness.
Chief, what the hell?
Right. It's like that's a lot of the writing in this. It's kind of funny. Like when you sit down and you play it all in one go, you notice those things. But like when we were kids, I never.
Oh no, not at all. And like as a kid going through this for first experience, you'd be like, "Wow, this is epic." But yeah, like any reback, you're like, "This is silly." Especially now, like we're so far removed from this game. You're like, "This is." I bet you, like even other ones, like Metal Gear Solid 4, would be like, "Wow." I'd be like, "This game's stupid." What a dumb game. All right. So let's say an epic fight, not too hard. It's kind of a little bit underwhelming. That's too bad. We are knocked out though. We wake up and we fight Liquid on top of Metal Gear. So we try to escape via Jeep, but are chased by Liquid. And then just as we're about to escape, our Jeep rolls over. Oh, man. Listening to the whole Liquid speech about genetics and creation, about his inferiority complex is very anime. Just not a fan. Seems very, I don't know, self-loathing.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like after you defeat Metal Gear and you blow up Liquid, it's just like that's all he yammers on about. It's like, you had the good genetics and I had the bad genetics, and I made all the sacrifices for you, and we actually had we were octuplets, and the 6 others also got sacrificed, so you would have all the good, and I gotta deal with all the bad, blah blah blah, and woe is me. And it's like, dude, you're pretty talented. You don't need to like compare yourself to other people. You could just have some like self-worth and not hate yourself and project so hard. But yeah, like the little getaway on the Jeep is fun because of course Liquid comes ripping after you like it's just so cartoon, like Wile E. Coyote and the Road Runner at this point.
Snake.
So when he like after like you flip and you're outside the tunnel, he's just like limping after you with a gun, and you're like, why won't this guy die?
To die, Snake.
And then exactly, it's like, my goodness, please, please, man, just like lay down.
So ending. Now we're done. We don't have to play anymore. So Liquid looks like he's won at last. He stands over a crashed vehicle, but the moment before he can raise his gun and take us down, he suffers a heart attack and dies. Oh no! Snake, and with either Meryl, the good ending, and the canon ending, or Otacon, the bad ending, and the not canon ending, unless you're Tyson, and then you're just like, Meryl never comes back. Then escapes via a snowmobile, and we were told that we should live our lives until we succumb to Fox die, and eventually die. Great. There's a post-credit stinger where Ocelot explains the mission was a success. He has all the data that they need for the new Metal Gear program, and the inferior twin was Solid Snake after all. So apparently Liquid was the superior, but he had an inferiority complex. And the whole thing was set up because the final thing, we find out Ocelot was talking to Mr. President.
Also our brother, Solidus.
Oh my God. He has like octopus president.
And you're like, right? You're like, so we were octuplets.
I guess another one survived, and like I imagine at some point, I don't know, like they probably could bring back other ones, I suppose, if they wanted. And
I'm sure if they wanted to, but at this point, you're like, all right, this is kind of silly. Right. And I know like you talk to Naomi at the end, and she's like kind of like apologizes and everything, and she's not going to get arrested.
Yeah, because at some point, some defense minister like takes over, and he's like, "We're sending nuclear bombs to blow up the base. You're dead." And then, like we have this countdown, and then afterwards, Campbell comes on. He's like, "Yeah, so we arrested that like crazy politician guy, and like he's going to jail because like you can't just nuke U.S. soil. So there are no missiles. It's fine."
Yeah, he was the Secretary of Defense. And the president didn't know anything about this, so I talked to him, and we're all good, and we're going to get this all taken care of. He's been himself arrested. It's like that joke on whatchamacallit, on Futurama when they get resurrected. It's like those incompetent executives that let us go and then brought us back. They themselves got canned. And you're like, yeah, that's kind of how this is playing out right now. So it's a little goofy, but they gotta add that stinger for we'll be back.
No, pretty much. And yeah, like they were kind of setting up the success. I imagine. I don't know. It's good. It's a good standalone experience, and like this game by itself, it's up there. It's up there in terms of like awesome video game experiences, right? As the series progresses, it gets
from presentation to like the sound design to enemy AIs. Like the controls are a little goofy. The camera's like fixed, and it could have been a little bit better. But it's like, honestly, like considering the limitations, it's pretty amazing. And I definitely had a good game. So
yeah. So there we go. So on to our current thoughts. So that wraps up this game. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about.
Unless you can remember what your thought was from earlier.
It was that they're releasing a Ninja Turtle Cowabunga pack. So they're doing a remastered version of all the Turtles games. That includes Turtles in Time Remastered coming out this year.
Oh, well, excellent. I did see that, and I can't wait for it. Also, they're doing a Sonic Origins pack, but they're also delisting all the other old Sonic games. But I'm like, if you're going to release them all in one big bundle, and I don't already, like, if you own 2 or 3 of them, like, yeah, that would suck to not have that last one that you need. But it's like, just, if you don't own any of them, it's like, then don't complain. Just buy the new collection, and then just accept that this is the way it is. Games don't stay out there forever.
There you go. So it was nothing relevant. So, okay, cool. So current thoughts. All right. So I'm going to get my criticisms out of the way. This game play is very archaic. The level/world design is super small. There's so much backtracking just to add extra gameplay because they just didn't create enough assets, right? It's not that interesting. The cutscenes are very long and tiresome, and like they just kind of go on and go on and go on. Right? Ready? Okay. However, this game is amazing. There's so much depth. The world feels so alive. I love the lore parts of the story. It's amazing that there's little hints they leave you throughout the experience. So even on like extra playthroughs, and you know everything, you can still pick up on new things. I think you could get rid of a bit of the fluff of the story. And just like, I wish that's going to be my, what would I change? Is I want just a lore mode. So all the fluff, like, how do you play the game? Who's this? Just tell me the lore of the game and like cut out all the other stuff that's like kind of necessary. And I think that would be like super satisfying, especially on like a replay. And right now it's good. Like it's legendarily good, right? I struggle putting it probably too high on like an all-time list just due to its kind of retro limitations. But like people that love this game, it has its own legacy. It's great. I think everyone should go back and play it, right? It's kind of like required reading. If you like new video games, you should go back and figure out why they exist the way they do, right? Why are there these big stories? Because it basically comes from this. This is storytelling in game. This might be the grandfather of storytelling in gaming, right? So it's still those things. But I'm also going to take off my ruby-colored glasses and say, like, as a game, this game kind of sucks.
Yeah, like I mean, presentation, sound design, like I was saying, is super awesome. Gameplay itself is a little bit blech, and I mean the Twin Snakes graphic update is a really nice update, but I mean if you're playing the original, it's kind of hard to stare at. Everything's like without auto aim, this game would be unplayable. And to me, it's like for a game that's heavily shooter ass, like the tank controls, the third person like aiming with auto aim, and you kind of have to like. There's no easy way of doing it. I know the PC has fixed that, so you can have first-person shooter aiming the whole time and like actually walk around in first-person mode. Which, I mean, that would be my change. Like, I think that's just awesome. Like, give me a first-person mode where I can like walk around and run around and like do all that. Like, to me, that would be really awesome. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of limitations. But narratively, this is super ambitious. I think this laid the template for a lot of games to really like you feel like you can tell a very interesting story with lots of twists and turns and have little drips of information. You can leave breadcrumbs so when people replay it, there's lots of Easter eggs for them to go back and enjoy and be like, oh, that's where that is, or oh hey, there's this guy. So and I think that this game really showed that that's possible, and that video games narratively can be very different than movies or TV shows. And you just gotta make the most of it. And I that's why I love this game, because like narratively, this is such a unique, interesting experience that even some of the newer Metal Gear games just couldn't reproduce, and they tried their best, because narratively this is so tight and interesting, and there's so many cool characters, and it's like feels like the story always progresses at a good pace, even though it's very bogged down with like lots of backtracking and some overly unnecessarily like dialogue. But it's like replaying it is always enjoyable for me. And usually I'm a gameplay first, but narratively and like sound wise, and just the nostalgia of this world and all the little things that I can keep picking up on, and it's
100%.
It's a great
and like
time.
it is you know what, even upon my first replay, like playing through it on the PSP, I was fine. My first playthrough of the Twin Snakes, I was having a really good time. It wasn't until afterwards I came back with my stealth camo and was just fucking with people that I was like, oh, there's really not much going on in this. Like, there's 2 guards, and if you choke them out, that's it, right? Like, there's nothing else to do.
Yep.
And then the stealth ammo doesn't really work for the bosses because they always know where you are. So it's kind of useless. Like, I wouldn't say there's one part in particular that I'm like, oh, it's awesome to have stealth camouflage here, because it just doesn't really matter, right? So that's kind of one of the side effects and like one of the downsides. And I was thinking about, like, I don't know, in later games if there's like a really awesome spot, but you almost kind of want, like, if you want to just screw around with people, like, your first playthrough should be with stealth ammo. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those ones, it's tough to play like a second playthrough right away just because it is kind of limited. But yeah, like, this basically was like, video games is a story-driven medium, right? And we've not been doing it right. It's not about the gameplay. It's not about these, like, big over-the-set, you know, like, spending all this money on developing. It's like, create a really cool story underneath. And like the sky's the limit, right? So like any of these franchises, like the Mass Effects to the Halos that have these big giant stories, kind of owe everything to Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, totally. And I think that like just being able to tie it all together with such unique, like, how do you fit a lot of dialogue? And you're like, well, you have little radio calls and it'll ring in your ear, and they tried to fit, like, they tried to solve all those like little problems narratively, and it's like I always appreciate that. But yeah, you know how like when you played Resident Evil 2 with the director's cut, and then you just get given the unlimited rocket launcher, it's like that should be the very easy mode of this game. Just give you those fun like little tools to run around. So even if you just want to, that's half the fun in this game is just to mess around, or you knock on walls and have somebody come by. I think it'd be like a lot of fun to try to like lure in the one room with the dropping of the trap doors, maybe try to like lure a guard onto one of the trap doors and see if it like triggers, and like that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's kind of replayability is like confusing if best. So yeah, so that's it. That wraps up I think all my thoughts I have on this game, kind of on the surface level, right? Outside of those kind of those points, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the other games that I would mention right now in terms of, let's say, like storytelling in video games. I have a list. We will talk about them a little bit later, so I'm not going to jump into it just now. And then I guess finally, are you buying it? And we could tie a bow on this game. An hour and 40 minutes right now, so good job, us.
Yeah,
I kind of suspected, and that's why I wasn't pushing too hard to get the next game ready to go, because I was like, I think this game's going to take a whole afternoon just to record. So, all right, so are you buying it? So the Twin Snakes game is Snake remembering the events of Shadow Moses Island. That is why the action is so over the top. Whatever. I literally couldn't figure anything out, so that's what you get.
Yeah. Well, you all know what? I think Snake in his old age likes to play up how legendary.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, if you want to get into the lore, if we never look at another game, you could talk about like Otacon's, like, you know, how he played the series, and like what Liquid actually means, and like the legacy of Big Boss, and you know, all these things. But I'm like, we won't get into that just now. We're going to pretend this game is self-contained, because maybe we never look at the second. Yeah, we'll look at the second. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think we'll probably, you know, and then number 3 is just a James Bond game. Like, it even has a James Bond a la song, or like I'll probably twist your arm and make you play that one too. So
we didn't do. So technically, the first one is what we got. So we got the NES Metal Gear. Perfect, played that. The next one that North America got, Metal Gear 2, Solid Snake's Revenge, technically isn't canon. It doesn't actually exist. So it'd be useless. Now, we could have went and looked at Metal Gear 2, Solid Snake, but like that one also, we never got it. So that's why I skipped right ahead to this one. I was like, we don't need to do more fluff. We'll just play this. So there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, it's like there's a couple people being like, "Oh, you're playing a Snake. You kill Big Boss. This is like a little 8-bit version of that." And you're like, "I'd rather just have like a
just play this. It's just you can even start here. Like anyone that's never played Metal Gear Solid, start a Metal Gear Solid. You got it. There's like 20 pages you can read and get the plot synopsis. And you'll be good. All right, so now we're on to cultural significance. So that ends our review on this fun game. I feel like an hour and 40 minutes. Probably talked about everything, done it justice. So there you go. I know it took us like an half hour to get into it, but you got over an hour of us talking just specifically about the game. So good times. All right, so cultural significance. In this section, we look at game tropes, marketing tactics, interesting stories. We talk about how this game relates, give other examples, and tie it all back together in the end, or we just sometimes give lists, whatever. Today we're going to look at a few things in video. We're going to go over the political message of this game, some other eco-friendly games, and talk about the crazy legacy that this game leaves. So we'll start out by talking about the START Treaty. This game is a commentary on the START Treaty, an agreement between the U.S. and Russia to reduce and limit the strategic offensive arms. It would allow for no more than 6,000 nuclear warheads to be held by either one nation, and a total of 1,600 intercontinental ballistic missiles and bombers. All right. There was a thought that this treaty was supposed to be signed the day that this game came out in 1998. However, it looks like talks on this treaty stalled in the early 90s. Really, dog? We're going to play with our water bottle? That's good for you. Good boy. The Twin Snakes reference that this still had not been signed as of '04. It also states that each country now possesses more than 10,000 warheads. It just didn't stay the same. They didn't decrease, but they actually got bigger, which is awesome. Good for them.
Yeah, it's a real shame that we can't all agree that nuclear weapons are just bad for everybody. Yeah, so it's unfortunately is what it is, and it's interesting that like games, like video games, is one of the few genres that's like more than happy to like, no, we're going to tell you why it's bad, and then we're going to keep telling you why it's bad.
So Japan is the only nation in the world that has seen the horror of a nuclear missile like twice in 1 week, right? Between Hiroshima and I forget what the other one was called, but anyways, essentially they got attacked twice, Nagasaki. And like everything since that point of their pop culture has been a reference to this. So every single show where you watch a giant mech fight something typically is about
Godzilla
is like like Godzilla is about nuclear weapons mutated a giant dinosaur which now attacks them, right? So it's kind of like they can never shed the fear of nuclear war. It's always right there. It's always looming. It's in their environment. It's in, it's in the fish. It's in the sea. It's everywhere, right? Like they have giant monsters always showing up, and there's always like the nuclear deterrent. Basically, they got really fucked up as just a culture, as a group of people, as a result of these bombs, and they're still seeing it, right? So this is kind of one of the guys trying to make, basically saying like, this is a good thing that's coming out, and here's the costs of nuclear war, and this is why it's bad. And it's, I don't know, it's like you could dive really deep into it, and this just does kind of like scratch the surface a little bit of being like, man, look at this great thing, we're so happy that this is happening, so the nuclear war will never happen. And they're like, no, we're not going to sign that. We'll just keep going. What do you mean? Russia, US, we'll never get into a war again.
Yeah.
Wink.
Yeah, exactly. Jeez. But it's a very good point. It's a very good point, and nobody's kind of lived through that other than Japan, unfortunately. So it's like,
watch any anime.
Crazy.
Most Attack on Titan is about giant things that just come and kill them. Like every basically all their media is about like fear of nuclear bombs. So
that's fair. That's fair. I did watch Dragon Ball Z.
Spirit Bomb. Is Goku a terrorist? All right. How about other eco? So I was kind of like, I was trying to figure out like a list. Like, how do I tie that in? Okay, so that's what the START Treaty is about. That's kind of what this game is in reference to. It's a big commentary on it. What other games have this eco-friendly message? There are like trash pickup games and like clean the beach games. A lot of like hubbub that aren't actually good games. So I was like, two I did find though, and I thought obviously one of the most eco-friendly characters ever is Captain Planet for the NES, released in 1991. I did no more research other than just wrote down what year it came out in, but I imagine any game about Captain Planet and the Planeteers probably makes kids want to protect the environment.
Yeah, well, he is our hero. He's going to take pollution down to zero.
Can't wait. All right, so how about Donald Land for the Genesis, released in 1992, which is a game made by McDonald's about a kid that saves the environment. And, make funny McDonald's joke. A kid that saves the environment, much like the way McDonald's is killing kids with all the terrible food they make them eat. I don't know, I got nothing.
Yeah, well, it's McDonald's. This is, the weird time when restaurants made video games, and I know McDonald's made. Now I know they made a DS game. I didn't know that they made a Genesis. Yeah,
it might have only
game,
been released in certain territories, like maybe only in Japan or something. So I don't know if we ever saw it. I mean, it's no Sneak King.
Might have to buy it on
Sneak
eBay.
King, but it's up there. Yeah,
that's a great game. That's the next gen
Donald Land.
Metal Gear Solid.
Pretty much, you sneak around, and you have to give people burgers. There you go. Oh, cool. All right.
Yep.
So again, because I struggled to find that list, that like other examples, I was like, all right, what else does this game do? It leaves a crazy legacy, right? So what I found was I was going through this and thinking about there's a lot of games that kind of get just crazy storylines, right? That like start out kind of simple and then just like go off the rails, right? So we're looking at things like Mass Effect and Halo and Resident Evil, these series that start out in these like such simple little worlds and they like blow up. So since the sequels do go a bit off the rails, let's look at a list of games that were nothing like the original, which I guess is true if you look at the first, like Metal Gear Solid and like Metal Gear Solid 2 as well. It's kind of different. So Grand Theft Auto 3 is much different from the two top-down of the original two, right? Adds a whole other brevity to the world. All right. Mm-hmm. How about Assassin's Creed? So they took a pretty rigid story-driven game where you're just in like one town. You don't really like deviate too much from the plot during each little sequence, and they've essentially made an open-world game.
Yeah, because the first game, I'm replaying it so I can speak to this, is really just like you get to talk to the one dude, get the assassination target or targets, and then go to the city, interrogate people, pickpocket people, and then like eavesdrop over with people, and then go assassinate them. Rinse, repeat, which is like, assassination game. What are you gonna do? Assassinate people. And then number 2 was basically like, let's just really expand the story and make you want to like have to like recruit people. Maybe
like
there's Brotherhood.
Like, early on, you get to see the assassin like armor that's like hidden behind these 5 things, and I was like, well, I need that now. Like, I can't play the game until I get that armor. And then I found out I couldn't get it till later, and I was like, I hate this game. I never played it again.
Well, they messed up. They instead of giving you the Master Sword right off the bat, they're like, nah, you gotta play 90% of the game before you
may
get
not
this.
even need it, but like, it'd be cool if you did. And I was like, all right, fine, that's fine. All right, how about the Dawn of War franchise? I don't know what that is.
That is the Warhammer 40k world. So I think it originally started as like a strategy game, and then eventually evolved into like a third-person action game. So more of like a God of War. But you're playing as Space Marines against a bunch of space orcs, and it's like basically space, and very dark. Nice. So
right.
Warhammer 40k.
Nidhogg 2.
I've never even heard of
this. So on this list, though, I did see Metal Gear Solid, which I was pretty excited. I was like, all right, I found a good like group of comparables. Great. How about Red Dead Redemption? So I believe the original game was called like Shotgun or Pistol or Red Dead Redemption.
I think it's just called Gun.
Yeah, there you go. That was close. They were types of. And it's like big open world. You're a cowboy. You can do a bunch of missions. Very Grand Theft Auto-y. So, different. All right. How about Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare? I don't know anything about the Call of Duty games, so I can't really speak to that.
Well, like, I mean, Modern Warfare 4 was like, so Call of Duty is like just the first-person shooter franchise, but like Modern Warfare was like first like Call of Duty game not based in World War II or whatever. It was like you got real like modern guns and everything, and it was crazy popular. Everybody loved the online. And then Modern Warfare 2 came out, and then they kind of drifted away from it, and then they even brought it back. So there's now another Modern Warfare, but it's not Call of Duty like 8 Modern Warfare or whatever it is. It's just called Modern Warfare. So just remove that 4.
And then the other 3 examples, we have World of Warcraft. So from the more of a strategy-based, linear story.
RTS.
Yeah,
yep.
Warcraft games. They created a big open world, which is a lot different. The Legend of Zelda franchise. Every sequel is kind of different from the others, sort of, not really. Definitely the second one, right? Is it Legend of Zelda 2? Kind of varies, right? And Ocarina of Times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most people are, like, some people would argue that Breath of the Wild's not even a Zelda game because it's so different, and I'm like, have you played the other games? Like, most of them are pretty different.
Like Majora's Mask was definitely a lot different. And then finally, the final...
Wind Waker was very different.
Isn't really the Final Fantasy franchise.
Yeah, I could see that because it went from like a very traditional RPG to like open world.
Yes.
Basically, like you're playing as one character. You no longer really even like role playing as different people or making your party. It's just like, here's the story. Whereas you're playing as a prince.
Yeah.
Push this car. You run out of gas.
That's a shame. That is a shame. What if you just walked on a grid and the open world was just a line that you just followed to the next location? That'd be fun. People will love it. People will love it and argue over line that this is the best Final Fantasy game ever.
You know what? And let's give it a good name. That needs to have some sort of quest or goal that in the title. Because then you know what? Then a dumb kid named Tyson might keep renting it from a little gas station.
Oh, I see. I was talking more about Final Fantasy X, not Mystic Quest.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. I thought when we were talking about, linear games, I was like, oh, yeah, Mystic Quest is a good game, but yeah, if you want to just walk down a hallway, play Final Fantasy X. Or select things on a map. That's the other
Why won't
part.
you tell me the length? All right, so that is it. That's the end of SideQuest Cinema. So again, Metal Gear Solid dies 1 hour and 3 minutes. Woo! All right. We're lucky. We're lucky that I looked this up, folks. So what happened here is we're done SideQuest Cinema. Metal Gear Solid has a huge, rich legacy, revolutionized stories in gaming. That's how we're going to wrap the show. I think we're going to stop here. I do have a Wayback Machine written down March 9th, 2004 for the release of Twin Snakes, but we only have a 3-hour time limit on our podcast release.
Yeah, and we're almost at 2 hours just on
Army
this
Men,
one, so
Army Men was an hour and 3 minutes.
Okay, well then we should shut up because
we have 2 minutes. So essentially we could do this. Nothing really, honestly, noteworthy. There's nothing great that we can talk about this. So we're going to scrap that. Cool, great. I'm glad that I looked that up as kind of we were just chatting because I was like, oh wait, this may not fit. Or we have to like do an X-Men and then like we have to release this before Army Men or this falls afterwards. So I think we're just going to say that's it. Metal Gear Solid, big crazy legacy that follows it. Hopefully it was done justice on this podcast. So.
Yeah. Well, we talked a lot about it. I know we kind of meandered about the beginning.
We almost did it. We almost had our first ever
great
2 hour long podcast, but we're going to, again, stop it. Tyson, did we miss anything?
I think we're good.
All right, well, there you go. So, Metal Gear Solid, I'm glad you pilled it. It helped me reignite my passion for video games and podcasting. Thank you, because Army Men and Metroid killed it. All right.
Yes. Well, good old Solid Snake. He carried us through, but I think that's bye, everybody.
Right. Bye, guys.
Infiltrate the enemy fortress, Outer Heaven. Destroy the final weapon, Metal Gear.